This is the Cancer Interviews podcast. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Bruce Morton. We're glad that our guest is here to join us as he has overcome quite a bit. Stewart Greenfield of Scottsdale, Arizona survived stage 4 bladder cancer, which resulted in a hole in his bladder and attacked lymph nodes from his groin to his neck. Stewart has a powerful story to tell, and now's the time to hear it. So, Stewart, welcome to Cancer Interviews.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, Bruce.
Stewart, we want to start off the way we always do, and that's to learn a little bit more about you, your life outside of cancer. So if you would, tell us a bit about where you're from, what you've done for work, and what you like to do for fun.
Well, originally I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I've been out in Arizona now about 20 years, kind of going around from place to place, but still in Arizona. I am by trade, a kitchen designer, and I build custom furniture. And that's what I did for my life, and I really loved it. It was very, very satisfying to be able to build something and just kind of sit back and look at it and say, hey, I did that. And now I'm enjoying semi-retirement out in Arizona. I also do a lot of scuba diving, as much as I possibly can. I'll go all over the world, anytime, any day.
Wonderful. Now, we want to talk about your cancer journey. And although this is about your cancer journey, not mine, I can tell you that my cancer journey began with blood work that accompanied my annual physical. Sounds like yours did too.
Exactly. I went in for my annual physical, felt great. I golfed the day before. I rode my bicycle that morning, and I had no reason to suspect I was sick in any way, shape, or form. And after starting the testing, I did a urine test with my annual physical. Doctor calls me up the next day. He says, listen, I want you to redo your urine test. It came back inconclusive. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't even know what that means. What do you mean inconclusive? I went the next day. I took another urine test. He calls me back the following day. He says, listen, it's still coming back the same thing. I'm going to put you on some antibiotics. It's probably an infection in your prostate. Take them and we'll redo the urine test. I took a week's worth of the antibiotics. We redid the test and it still came back, in his words, inconclusive. At that point, he told me he had made an appointment with another doctor for me who was located at the local hospital, and I went to see him. He was a urological surgeon, which kind of surprised me because I still wasn't expecting anything bad. And we sit down, start talking. He asked me a lot of things about myself, my personal being, and I really liked that because I thought that he wanted to get to know me as a person, what I like to do, what I enjoy, what kind of ticks gets me going. And I really appreciated that because that doesn't happen very often. The first day we did a bunch of scans. Next day I come in and I do a scope. Now, I didn't realize at the time that the doctor, while I'm doing the scope, is actually seeing the results, what my bladder looks like. When he got done with it, he said to me, I've got to go develop the photos. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, I'm not thinking a thing, feeling great. I want to get out. I want to go ride my bike again. He comes back in, knowing that I love to go scuba diving, knowing that I have been all over the world diving. He pulls his chair up within about 3 feet of me, face to face, and he looks me in the eye, and he says, and this is verbatim, if there's any place in the world that you really, really, really want to go, go now. And I looked at him, I said, well, in 3 months, I'm going to visit my brother for Thanksgiving. He shook his head side to side. He goes, no, now. Oh, okay. How do you take that? How are you supposed to take that? I didn't expect any bad news. I was by myself. If I had any inclination of what was going on in my body, I would have had somebody else because obviously 2 sets of ears are better than one. I got in my car after leaving. He had told me he made an appointment with another oncologist, a treatment oncologist, for the following day, and he wanted me to go there. That was the end of our appointment. I called my sister, told her what was going on. She calls me back a couple hours later. She had a friend who was treated for bladder cancer by the head of bladder surgery at a very prestigious hospital. And somehow she was able to finagle an appointment for me the very next morning, first thing, which I appreciated. We got there about 7 o'clock. We had already sent over my records from the day before, and the doctor's sitting at his desk, shaking his head from side to side. We sat down, and to me, this was the shortest appointment with a doctor in the history of mankind. He picked his head up, he looked at me, and he goes, "It's too late. There's nothing I can do for you. Go home and get your affairs in order." Well, at that point, it's like, whoa, what's going on here? I still had not heard the word cancer. This was the second doctor that I had gone to. I did not hear the word cancer. We walked out of there. Obviously, I had an idea of what was going on. Go to the car, my sister and I told her I want to still go to see the oncologist that afternoon. She said there's no reason to. After what the first two doctors said, it's just a waste of time. I told her, I said, listen, you don't have to go, but I'm going to still go. He was nice enough to make the appointment. Let's hear what she has to say. We went and had lunch. Then we went and saw this doctor. This was the first time I actually heard the word cancer. She said to me, she said, "You're in late 4th stage metastatic bladder cancer." Bruce, I was so ignorant about cancer, I didn't even know what the word metastatic meant. And I asked her, what did metastatic mean? She says, well, it's spread to other parts of your body. And I just kind of sat there stunned, absolutely stunned. And she explains to me that things are really bad. She agreed with the first two oncologists as far as what the diagnosis was, but she wanted to treat me. And I started getting up and I started walking to the door. She asked me, where are you going? I said, I'm going scuba diving. If I've got just nothing to live, I want to dive. I don't want to sit in Chicago's traffic while I'm dying. I want to be in the ocean. She stood up, she blocked me from getting out of the door. She said, you can't leave, you've got to try. We can't give up. I said, there's nothing to give up. You've already told me I'm a dead man walking. And I just want to go and enjoy whatever little time I have left. You can't give up. She refused to move. She refused to let me out of the office. At some point, I just said, okay, you win. I don't have any strength. I'm not going to fight you. Whatever you want. And that was the end of that appointment. I immediately... Boy, it was really tough. This had been a long 2 days, seeing 3 oncologists, getting the diagnosis that I couldn't understand. I remember thinking to myself, how can I be so sick? I feel so good. I went golfing yesterday. How does this happen? It just doesn't work this way. It's got to be a mistake. Well, it wasn't a mistake, but I got very lucky. They put me in. I had a port inserted. I had all my tumors. I had 7 tumors removed from my bladder and my ureter. And the next thing I know, I'm going on chemo. And it wasn't fun. Nobody likes chemo. I was 3 weeks on, 1 week off. The first week was nothing but straight cisplatin. That was a tough one to take. The second and third week was a cisplatin gemcide cocktail. That was a little easier. My body tolerated the chemo, though I'd say better than most people get. I got pretty lucky on it. Yes, I did get sick, get a little nauseous here and there, but all in all, I carried it pretty well. I was pretty happy about, especially when I see in the infusion room the effects that it had on other people. So I realized I was very lucky. Meanwhile, I'm just waiting to die because that's what everybody told me was what's going to happen. And I'm not dying. I'm still here. What's going on? And it took me quite a while before I could even leave the house. I was so afraid of going anywhere and something happening. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what the signs are going to be because I haven't had any. You're waiting for the unknown. All I know is every doctor told me is I didn't have a chance. So I sat down and I just literally waited to die. I did go take a couple of trips after the first round of chemo. During that first round of chemo, though, the doctor had informed me that there was a brand new drug on the market and they had just started using it and it was showing great results. And that if I could survive the round of chemo, I would be now eligible for the drug called Nivolumab. And when she told me that, I just laughed. Yeah, sure. You know, one doctor told me to go home and get my affairs in order. How am I going to last 6 months on chemo? It's not going to happen. But I just decided I was going to do whatever my doctor told me to do. And we'll keep going, and I'm still living and waiting and waiting and waiting. Everybody's asking me, what's happening? What's happening with you? I go, I don't know. I don't know how to answer this. I'm lost. And honestly, Bruce, for the first 4.5 to 5 years, I just sat and waited to die. And those were the loneliest days of my life. I can certainly tell you that. You're waiting. Everybody tells you this is what's going to happen. The 29th of this month, I am celebrating my 9th year anniversary of being a cancer survivor and 8 years on my immunotherapy. And I was informed that I am the longest surviving Nivolumab patient with my cancer. And that's a nice thing to be able to say.
By the way, we're confident you'll be able to learn some tips and tools to help you through your personal cancer journey. But first, we'd like to invite you to please give us a like, leave a comment or review below, and share this story with your friends. Kindly click on the subscribe button below, and then click on the bell icon. That way, you'll be notified the next time that we post a cancer interview. And we want to remind you that on the Cancer Interviews podcast, we are not distributors of medical advice. If you seek medical advice, please consult a licensed healthcare professional. So you had mentioned the chemo regimen, and looking back on that, Stewart, what was the toughest part of it?
Accepting that I had chemo. That was the first one. Because like I said, it's not like I was sick. I knew something was wrong. There's something going on in my body. I was so taken off guard. I can't explain how much I was taken off. I mean, I remember, like I say, thinking, how can I be this sick when I feel this good? It's impossible. Well, I was wrong. And you just, I guess you have to learn how to live with it. And just believe in yourself, believe you're going to fight it. I made up my mind that I was not going to give up, that I was going to keep fighting, whatever that meant. It's not like you go into a boxing ring and you got gloves on and you start punching it. You just have to get in your head, or at least I did, and to convince myself that I'm going to beat this, that I'm stronger than the cancer. I don't care what it's got. I don't care what it does. Come on, bring it on. I'm going to laugh at you while I just knock you over. And that's been a very, very strong issue for me, as far as I try to tell people you can never give up, because I did give up for a long time. And I'm still here. And I realized that I wasted a lot of precious time waiting to die. And that's not a way to go through life, or even a closing of your life. You want to enjoy it as much as you can. You want to appreciate the people around you. You want to share whatever you can. And I am that type of person. Never felt sorry for myself. I never sat in a corner and just cried and cried. I just took it and said, this is what I've got, and I've got to face it, and the best way I can do is just laugh at it. And that's what I do. I get up in the morning, I stand up straight, I get out of bed, I stand up straight, I tell myself it's going to be a good day, and cancer, you got no chance.
That said, physically, how close are you to 100%?
Honestly, I'm 100%. You would never know that I'm sick. People that I come in contact with, and I don't even tell people because, one, it's a very private thing. You only want to share this, or at least to me, I only want to share this with the people that are close to me, share it with people who I feel that I can help by spreading the message of never giving up. And it's really important because that brain is very powerful, as we all know, and I truly believe if you fill yourself with nothing but positive thoughts, good things are going to come your way.
Now, I want to talk about a source of support for you during this arduous journey, and that's the Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network, which you must have found out about at one time or another. If you would, Stewart, tell us a bit about how it has helped you and how it can help others.
Well, Beacon is just such a wonderful organization. They're dedicated to helping bladder cancer patients. And what I do and many other people do, we work as advocates. So I will get a call from Beacon and they will tell me that there's a new patient who just got diagnosed with a type of cancer very similar to mine. And they would like to speak to someone so they can get an idea of what to expect. It's very fulfilling. They are a wonderful organization. They have brought a cancer that's always been kept under the radar, maybe because it's a bladder, it's not as glamorous as lung cancer or something like that. It's kind of almost like a taboo subject. And there's nothing taboo about it. Everybody urinates, and this is where it's stored. I was very lucky. I kept my bladder, and I'm at 200%, Bruce. I'm at 200%.
So for you, would you say that urinating is normal?
Normal as can be. Normal as can be. You would never know I'm sick in a million years by looking at me, by looking at my activities, even how I urinate. It baffles my doctors.
And that's not a bad kind of baffling. Now, I want to just talk about the Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network in just one more way. It does have a website, and if somebody wants to go to that website, what's the web address?
The web address is beacon.org, B-C-A-N, but it's pronounced beacon, as in a beacon of light, a beacon of hope. And they are celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. There's a big gala in Washington, D.C. in November for it, and I wouldn't miss this for the world. They are wonderful people. They are dedicated to the bladder cancer patients, and they will do whatever it takes to help that person. And they are a wonderful, wonderful organization, and I would recommend anybody with bladder cancer to get a hold of them. They will be very happy that they did.
And again, that's www.bcan.org. All right,
Correct.
Stewart, it's about time for us to wrap up, and we're going to wrap up the way we pretty much do. Some of the material that might come into this answer is stuff you've covered previously in our interview, but in this situation, I don't think redundancy is necessarily a bad thing because you have such a strong message. And that is, if you encountered someone with your type of cancer, and that would be stage 4 metastatic bladder cancer or any type of bladder cancer, they've just been diagnosed, they have a million questions, more questions than answers, and you might have some information to answer some of those questions. If there's one overarching point you would want to make, you want to make sure the person you spoke to walked away with the information you just imparted. One overarching point, what would it be?
Fight the fight. Don't be afraid. Fight the fight. You have the strength. Never give up.
Succinctly put, and a powerful message, just like your story. Stewart Greenfield, Scottsdale, Arizona, thank you very much for sharing your story. Thanks for telling us about all you've overcome, what it took to overcome it, and sharing the information about Beacon, the Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network, which can again be found at www.bcan.org. Stewart, thanks so much for being with us on Cancer Interviews.
Bruce, thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad to be able to spread my message, and hopefully this helps other patients. Don't be afraid. Fight the fight.
Excellent, sage advice. And we want to remind you as we wrap up that if you or a loved one are on a cancer journey, you are not alone. There are people out there like Stewart Greenfield. There are organizations like the Bladder Cancer Advocacy Network that are there to help. So until next time, we'll see you on down the road.